Hi, good afternoon. My name is Yolanda Asumu. I am the General Director of IQ Farm and the promoter of the Africa HR Forum, an open forum dedicated to capacity building in the human resources industry. In collaboration with the African Human Resources Confederation, we present the HR trainings, a 30-minute session every first Thursday of each month, in which an instructor briefly shares his or her knowledge in HR or business and answers questions. These free trainings help us to have varied points of view on current issues and share our experiences with other Pan-African professionals. I am honored to present today's lecturer, Ms. Faith Nshapo, who is as passionate about the transformational change as I am, and who has been practicing as an enabler, integrator, and lead in shaping and embodying digital culture, positioning new technologies, operating models, and operational strategies for large-scale programs and projects successfully. She is the founder of Verve Employees, an interactive platform for people leading change. Welcome, Ms. Nshapo. I now open the floor for you to present us with today's lesson, the HR role in shaping the digital transformation journey.
Thank you so much. That was a great intro. I just want to make sure, is everybody clear? Can you see me? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can see you. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. Marilyn, would you please do me the honors just to present my presentation on your side? Yeah, so just for ease, because I'm looking at, I'm actually looking at my screen. It's slow to react, so it would help me a lot. Thank you so much. We start with, thank you. I would actually just put the positioning to say we have an HR role for leading digital transformation. It's been a long time since we have been able to look at ourselves and within the HR space, include myself, to say what role are we playing that's actually proactive in this leading digital transformation space. Often, what I'm hearing my colleagues say is that we have the collaborative tool, which COVID-19 has helped us in terms of accelerating the adoption of the digital tools. However, that's not enough. And however, we wait for, as usual, as HR business partners, as HR executives, we wait for business to be able to guide us. And specifically, I'm talking about business, in this case, IT. We would like IT to speak for us when it comes to digital culture and digital change. So it's very important that we relook at that and say, what is our role in actually looking at leading digital transformation? So we actually, I'm actually going to touch on framing the digital challenge. What we have so far is that with Gartner are bringing the elements that are quite critical when we're looking at increasing the sense of agency. That looks at data, people, as well as innovation. So that's what we're going to focus on and look at our role in actually expediting or actually, our role in actually expediting the sense of agency. Thank you so much. We have the different eras of digital transformation phases. And we must say, I would like to actually see your faces and say, where are we as Africa? Or rather, even individual organizations, we have different sets of, if I could say, maturity. But as I'm looking at South Africa and where we are and all the engagements that I've had in leading digital transformation, some companies are ahead. For example, even with COVID-19, you had a situation where you have the digital space, Sorry, I'll just have to, sorry about that. You have the digital space that enables an employee experience. So if you're looking where we say, my colleague, in fact, that's Lunga Bijelwa from Microsoft, it was actually great to hear from him, where he's actually not looking at tech, but actually looking at how do we move from driving costs. And I know most companies have been in that phase. And especially now, it's very tempting to want to focus on driving costs. But we've moved beyond that point. We've moved to buyer's behavior and experiences where our customers let us know what they need. But then what do we need internally? The internal customer experience is very much linked to the external customer experience when it comes to growing the importance in the experience economy. You actually have the net promoter score that's actually looking at people. So it's important that in our culture surveys, we actually look at our own journey within the HR arena to say what is the employee experience what is the employee experience that we are creating, and that is supposed to lead us to evaluating ourselves and say, would our employees, in terms of how we deliver with customer experience, stay with us? Do our employees have the enablement from organizations, from us as organizations? And that is an HR conversation around the employee experience, because we cannot continue as HR doing the same things that we've done before. We have to come close and dust ourselves and make sure that we are not so proud, but we are actually willing and humble ourselves to say, let's learn, let's sit on the table with our leadership and across disciplines and be say, we don't know. So let us all experiment together with business. And I will give you another great case study, and that great case study was in 2012, around 2012, the telecoms organization were under threat from buyers, from buyers no longer looking at the main country. In South Africa, it would have been MTN, Vodacom, and so forth. But here, we look at how did they shift that time, because digital transformation for them in the third revolution was not a choice. And how did they move? So it was actually in that relationship between when you go digital in the front, how do you then bring your culture and people along? Again, I looked at, I hope we're at the right slide, where we're going to talk about, it's not just, digital transformation is not just about technology. Now, I want to see the chats where when you see this picture, again, I like the fact that it was actually positioned by a tech person who's basically telling us culture, it's about culture shift, about bringing the sense of urgency to the business. And I just want to ask from you and learn it all and forget what we know. Necessarily, if we think we know it all, we're not going to be humble enough to say, let's learn together, because this is the time of learning together across the various streams, across the various disciplines in business. So just look at this, and I'm sure you will begin to say, you see yourself playing a role, right? When you're looking in the HR space, transparency is what we drive. Learning is what we drive. And also, building trust is what we drive. The digital culture is the biggest taker. And transparency, reward and recognition. So diversity is what we drive. So when are we ready? When are we ready? to actually start our conversations with leadership around the digital culture and all the aspects that are highlighted that are within our control. I will pause. Hopefully, Marilyn, please tell me if there are any questions. I want to highlight that the PwC study focused on saying that the biggest barriers and biggest challenges at the moment is actually not the technology, but the lack of digital culture and training. So that's number one. Number two, lack of clear vision and support from top management around digital transformation and clear economic benefit and digital investment. And we know that we play a role when it comes to number one and number two, including how to advise organizations around the economic benefit of digital investment when it comes to our assets. And our greatest assets are our people. I've actually put together this framework. That framework about that looks at if we start at the bottom, you will see that we have people, innovation, data, and that is what is the focus when it comes to digital transformation. The focus that is ultimately linked to the technologies, but it's people, innovation, and data. So we play a role when it comes to building a culture of innovation or creating an innovation, creating and working on a culture where people can be creative, collaborative, and integrated, and mind-wise. So because it's one thing to continue as we've been, where we think creativity will continue by itself. People will be creative automatically, but it's very few people at this point, in terms of how we've been wired in the traditional space, that are enabled in their environments to be creative. And the creativity actually is playing a greater role now with the Googles of this world, where they are looking at how do you actually hire, what do you spend money on when it comes to digital investments? Meaning also, how do you attract? Do you still continue looking at the skills and change people with restructuring every time that it's the skills are irrelevant? What they are saying is that no. They're saying the Deloitte study shows that the creativity is actually going to be what determines whether you want to hire. So it's going to have a higher weighting when it comes to appointments, even though you still need the skills. However, creativity will be number one, because we need to imagine and reimagine and learn and relearn. If people are comfortable with their base of knowledge and base of skill and want to continue to serve organizations from that standpoint, we're going to have a challenge where restructuring becomes part of what we do much more frequently. And that's not what we want, because we will have people that we trained. That's a loss. I've also put to say, if you're looking at the blue, you can clearly see where we play as HR, which is on the culture and the enabling, and collaboration has been in over the years we've been very good at that. Also, I think with the COVID, some companies were already collaborating who were using WebEx before the Zooms and GoToMeetings before the Microsoft Teams. They were already using the collaborative tools. But at the same time, most of the organizations have learned and are definitely comfortable with collaboration. Where we struggle and where we haven't even done anything is actually around the integrated mindsets and as well, how do we look at creativity? If you look the leadership, we have control. We are the same people who are setting the tone and helping organizations do strategic planning sessions and bringing them to lawyers of this world to actually drive strategy, to help them drive strategy, and as well for the vision. We have a choice now to say we are moving into 2021 and it's a Q1 quarter. We could challenge ourselves and say, how do we then move our leadership and create a learning platform around leading digital transformation, leaders being in the forefront of leading digital transformation, and within what we know, which is our culture, and using culture as a center point. Capabilities, we have to know our capabilities. And when it comes to that tech, the tech, we worry about tech capabilities. But what are we doing in terms of bringing the capabilities of digital understanding and what the business has to know, what to do, where to start with the leadership, and the workforce. So that's our conversations around that, to say, where are we now? What does the audits tell us, the talent profiles that we're sitting with? What are the gaps? However, that cannot be in a silo, in a bubble. The digital vision will actually be what guides the business. But are we ready to shake things up and be the ones that are driving digital transformation? And again, you will see it's not about technology coming over and over. There is a nugget that at this point, we do understand that the collective talent will require collective talent and effort. No more, we cannot plan alone and bring technologies within our own spaces to improve efficiency without looking at how does this link back to what the organization is trying to achieve, and in terms of the vision. So, because if we work within finance, does their own thing in terms of looking at digital investments, HR is doing its own thing. At the end of the day, we've seen we will end up with a situation where we have invested a lot and we get little, and as technology changes all the time. But the most important thing is collaboration, and how do we move and shake things up so that there are cross-disciplinary teams that are talking about innovation and driving change. And then again, if you look at our current behaviors, we also have to look at that, relook at that, because we've been praised until now. We've been praised for working for our excellence that's based on getting it right and getting it right the first time, or no room for error, and that's excellence. But at this point, we are learning and relearning. We have to create a culture, facilitate a culture within the organization where people are willing to embrace change and embrace that people will fail, because we are testing and testing and testing, and we're doing it in an agile manner. And these errors and are bound to happen. So there is no more, we have to redefine how we have actually, how we performance manage, or what is our focus in terms of what we're delivering. Marilyn, you actually tell me of time if I'm still, if I'm still keeping the time. And as well, when you look at reward and recognition, what are we rewarding? So if we're rewarding excellence as for individual performance, or even behaviors that are working against innovation or working against collaboration, we will be in trouble. But I would like to say that the senior leadership, this is the time that we have Q1 of 2022. My call is, let's relook and as HR, relook and have those conversations around what is our digital vision and what are we working towards. Thank you. Marilyn?
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and talking about the digital transformation. We really have been enlightened today by your lesson, and we see that there is definitely a need. I think one of the points that you discussed today about getting all of the partners in an organization together to actually define the transformation that is needed is a very important point. And how do you suggest that we should do that? How do you suggest that we all get on board and be in the same area? In terms of how to organize the digital structure?
Yes, I think when we go back to what we know will help in this case, which is we know that there's awareness. When you are actually framing the digital transformation journey, we go back to the Benning platform. And that Benning platform is very much linked to it's not separated to where the business is going. It's understanding how the digital technology has impacted our business. What are the strengths that we have as an organization? So if you remember, we're talking about capabilities when we're talking about strengths. So in terms of strengths, our skill base, how we're sitting, and externally, for external customer experience, where is the business trying to get to? So getting involved and from there, using our strategic planning sessions to be able to drive those conversations. That would be the starting point. And also, before you even get your leadership on board, there would have to be a lot of effort that is driven from the top, where you have conversations now with the CEO, who is now going to set the tone around the awareness and defining where we're going.
Okay, very good. How do we get the upper management on board? How do we get them to realize the importance of this for the remainder of the organization?
Each and every business unit or division has its own aspirations and has its own business plans. So it is important now to look at, if you speak to, for example, any area, they would tell you that there's business efficiency that has to improve, which is already we are wired around innovation and bringing the new technologies on board to help us with the administration, in finance, in shared services data, to be able to deal with that administration. But if we bring in the conversation around how do we move beyond that on business efficiency and move into where data can work for us, where we can make decisions at the speed of light, where technology now is enabling us and we are able to see insights as leadership to work for us. So mostly leaders, they want results, they want to be able to access insights before the problems occur. So how do we see what's happening in trend or even predict? How do we do that? So those conversations that go around that would actually be exciting if we as HR bring it on board, and we are the ones that are supporting in terms of ensuring that the leaders are navigating through the change.
Okay, very good. I'm going to check in the chat to see if we have any other questions, but I have one other question as well. So in your opinion, do you feel that HR should actually lead the talks regarding digital transformation?
HR has its components that it should actually be leading. And good, as we've done it before, culture sits in the middle. So culture is what we need to work on. So definitely we can be able to drive the whole conversation, and that's a quick win. And again, that starts with things as simple as look at your values, look at your practices, whether they are indeed supporting digital culture. I mean, not only that, if you think of digital transformation, and remember, even just using the Zooms and the GoToMeetings and improving the collaboration, that's making a better experience, an employee experience. But how do we get into conversations also about contributing to the workforce that is ready for customers to deliver excellent customer experience, and also looking at capabilities across the board.
Okay, I understand. We actually have a question from Carol. She would like to know that she's saying that traditionally, one of the challenges of HR is that we are seldom seen as a strategic partner in the business. How do we use this opportunity to change this mindset?
It's true. Yes, we are. We actually it hit home because I also understand the dilemma. Yes.
I do understand. Yeah.
Yes, I do understand the dilemma. The thing that allows us, that is our leverage at the moment as HR, is that business doesn't know how to influence people. We do. Business doesn't want to lose their people to restructuring. However, because we leave a gap where we haven't prepared the workforce to be ready and enabled them, business just comes to us as HR and say, because we haven't done our part, right? So business just comes to us and say, I want people, new people who know what they're doing. So right now, I think change is within our driving change is within our area of expertise. And the good thing is that IT doesn't know how to handle that. And I can also attest to this because when I was in MTN in 2012, around the same time the digital strategy came, it was the same. Bain came and worked on the external customer experience. And they said, what do we do with people? How do you make these people actually ready for delivering this bright customer experience we're talking about? They actually came to HR and said, we're done with the project. HR figure it out. So right now, this is the time. This is the time to show them we're strategic.
Yes, because I think most of the time people are just looking at us towards onboarding and terminating, agreements and doing payroll. That's basically how we're seeing, okay, where's my money? Where's my check? I need my vacation. We really have to change that mindset, and we're the ones who have to do it. And so I think there have to be a lot of conversations in which we need to really just talk with the management and explain the importance of not only the digital transformation, but the training associated with the digital transformation as well.
Yes.
Because just sticking digital things in front of the employees is not going to get the problem solved. And so there are a lot of challenges that have to do with this. And it's a very good question that Carol has put forth this morning. And I think that is the foundation for this whole conversation today. And I'm just wondering if anyone else has any other questions, or if Carol feels as though we have answered her question regarding this. Yes, but it is a mindset change. And I think it does have to start with HR. And that's why we're having these talks, to encourage others to really step forth and talk to their management about the need for digital transformation and making things more efficient. I think the efficiency is one of the reasons why we want to do the digital transformation. Not that we want to replace our people, but we want to make them more efficient in the jobs that they're actually providing.
Yes, definitely, because people can do what people do, which is think. We're created for that. And so when we automate the transactional, then we are able to think, and we have time to think. So yes, this is an opportunity.
Yes. Well, Carol has thanked us for our response. I hope it was helpful. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, if we don't have any other questions, I would like to give now Ms. Nslapo another minute to just give us a little closing statement for today, for today's lesson, to leave us with something to think about.
Yeah, I would say that we have been leading culture for a long time. We know what to do, and the companies are looking at us. So this is the time. Let us play our role, and no one can create culture like us. And the digital transformation is actually reliant on the type of culture we build. And of course, we need our leadership, but we also need leadership is not a role. It's actually even at the bottom. We have people who are displaying leadership capabilities. So this is time for us to take our space, that which is people, and everything to do with people. We run with it, but culture is the driver.
Excellent. Well, thank you for those closing remarks, and let us continue our work to push for digital transformation in each of our organizations. Thank you again, Ms. Nslapo, for sharing your experience with us today, and we appreciate all that have joined us today for today's lesson. I wish you all a very, very good afternoon and enjoyable rest of your week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.